Well, nobody goes without food at night to sleep. Nobody does in this country. Even through COVID-19, when the economy everywhere all over the world almost fell on the ground, through our very sagacious strategies, very wise decisions of matching both life and livelihood, জীবন ও জীবিকার একটা মিল করা, মেলবন্ধন করা, that she did. She applied selective lockdowns, strategic selective lockdowns. খাদ্যদ্রব্য, শ্রমিক, সাধারণ মানুষ মুভ করবে কোনো বাধা নয়। মান্নান সাহেবদের মুভমেন্ট আটকান দরকার নেই, প্রয়োজন নেই। ধান কাটা শ্রমিক সিরাজগঞ্জ থেকে সুনামগঞ্জে যাবে, কেউ বাধা দিতে পারবে না। All the deputy commissioners and SPs were instructed, don't touch any of these trucks or buses moving with our laborers. So you see, the mills in Jodhpur, Gazipur, the garment factories were left open. They worked day and night. Other factories in the poultry sector, fisheries, everywhere, we applied selective lockdowns. So that reduced the pain a lot. And the master stroke was, she provided what is called Pronodana Banglaয় প্রায় $1.25 লক্ষ পরিমাণ incentive package was immediately given out. The fastest in the world perhaps, if someone can correct me, I don't know. Right after 20th March, when the first cases of COVID were detected in Bangladesh, by later 3rd or 4th week of March, Pronodana package was out. A shot in the arm. Blood started flowing all over. হ্যাঁ, অনেক চুরি চামারি হয়েছে, কিছু কিছু মিস হয়েছে, মিসফায়ার হয়েছে, no doubt about that. But by and large, the economy as a whole, ordinary workers in the RMGs, they got their salaries back. Those RMG owners who were in trouble for their cash capital, they were given support. So she kept the economy in her hand and on board, on to the next level. That is how she did the wonders. That must be recognized by everyone. It's a record bole, amar bolar kono kotha noy. In Southeast Asian region, according to IMF, every country, including the great Chinese and the Indian economies who are our neighbors, performed in the negative zone. We were in the positive zone. Almost 5% growth took place during 1920. It's a miracle. I don't believe in miracles. That's because of hard work by our ordinary folks. The peasants, the industrial workers, and the great heroes, the remittance fighters, remittance heroes in the Middle East and in other countries. সকল কিছু মিলিয়ে it was a joint work by the entire people, by the entire country. So we did it. So the question of disparity again, disparity is something, as I said, is something very, well, it is not moved anywhere in the world. কম বেশি সব দেশ আছে। মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্রে আরকানসাস is the poorest state by their own standards. In the UK, there are some areas in the middle of England which is poorer than the other areas. Everywhere in India, states like Bihar are way below states like Gujarat. These things happen. There is no way out for us. So, as I said, strategy was to reduce poverty, which we did, and we take pride in that. But we are not content with it. We have to move higher. আরো বাড়াতে হবে বটম লাইনের ইনকাম। এটা কীভাবে করতে হবে ভাই? চাইলে তো হবে না। Through raising literacy, through providing health care, and through doing small infrastructural work in the rural economy. সাঁকোবিহীন বাংলাদেশ চাই, শেখ হাসিনার একটা ইকনেকে একটা তার মন্তব্য ছিল 3 বছর আগে। সাঁকোবিহীন বাংলাদেশ চাই। সাঁকো, we all know, we are village people. The bamboo bridges or structures which takes us across. We are building hundreds of thousands of culverts and bridges and bringing people together, joining them, dots here, dots there, dots there, everywhere, joining them together. And we see the synergy in larger output, better farm output, better industrial output, better food output. So, has anyone any quarrel with that? Dr. Moin Khan will not quarrel with that. He will appreciate, he has said it. হ্যাঁ, কিছু কিছু পয়েন্ট আছে ওনার বলার ছিল গভর্নেন্স, দ্য বিউটিফুল ওয়ার্ড, ভেরি অ্যাট্রাকটিভ ওয়ার্ড, গভর্নেন্স। বাংলা একটা কথা বলি, ভাত আগে খাবো না পায়েস আগে খাবো। আমি ক্ষুধার্ত ব্যক্তি, আমাকে আগে ভাত দিবেন না পায়েস দিবেন, না চা দিবেন, না কফি দিবেন। Translated to English, I am a hungry man. What will you give me first? A plate of rice or a piece of ice cream? You won't do that as a very sensitive host. And I don't want it also. So the choice is very clear. Governance is the pie in the sky. Governance is the destination, is an output, is a fruit, not a low-hanging fruit, high-hanging fruit that we must reach. এই কাজটা শেখ হাসিনা করছে। বাজারে যখন আমার স্ত্রী আমাকে পাঠায় তালিকা করে দেয়, শপিং লিস্ট, শি রাইটস অ্যাবাউট চাল ডাল মাছ আগে, অ্যান্ড শ্যাম্পু অ্যান্ড সাবান নিচের দিকে দেয়। দ্যাট ইজ অলওয়েজ দ্য কেস এভরিওয়ার অল ওভার দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড। সেম ইন দ্য স্টেট, সেম ইন দ্য গভর্নমেন্ট। হোয়াট ইজ হার টার্গেট? এগেইন ডক্টর মুইন খান মেনশন অ্যাবাউট দিস, হ্যাঁ ডেমোক্রেসি আগে হবে না, উন্নয়ন আগে হবে, একটা ডিবেট চলছে। I am alluding in my own very ordinary language. I am not a scholar, so I am not going into that scholarly thing. Bare simple thing. First thing first. And that is what we are doing. And I think Dr. Moin Khan will, of course we want good governance, why not? If we did not want good governance, Sheikh Hasinai তো স্থানীয় সরকারকে শক্তিশালী করেছে। এর আগের বিএনপি সরকার স্থানীয় সরকারকে ধ্বংস করে দিয়েছিল, উপজেলা নির্বাচন বাতিল করে দিয়েছিল। উই ব্রট ইট ব্যাক। জেলা পরিষদে কিছুই ছিল না, উই ব্রট ইট ব্যাক। আমরা ইউনিয়ন পরিষদগুলোতে উই প্রোভাইডেড 3 রিজার্ভ সিটস ফর উইমেন সো দ্যাট দে ক্যান পার্টিসিপেট। ডিড দে এভার থিঙ্ক অফ ইট? ডক্টর মুইন খানরা থিঙ্ক করেছিলেন এটা? নট এট অল। তারা ছিলেন তাদের লাইনে। I'm not saying that they were wrong or right. It's not a question wrong or right. They are a different strategy altogether. তাদের স্ট্র্যাটেজি আমার স্ট্র্যাটেজিতে বেশ কম আছে। We are development economists. Sheikh Hasina is a development economist. She takes risks. She is a risk taker. She reads the tea leaves. She looks at the sky and decides. Other governments in the past had other agendas. They're busy with the balance sheet. Balance sheet, যাতে লাল না হয় না কি বলে, বটম লাইন যাতে মিলে যায়। We are not accountants. Sheikh Hasina is not an accountant. She is a development planner, development thinker, development strategist. এবং রিস্ক টেকার ছাড়া ডেভেলপমেন্ট হয় না। বাতাসটা ভালো এসেছিল, ডেমোগ্রাফিক ডিভিডেন্ডের প্রথম ধাক্কা লেগেছিল এই সময়ে, তার সময়ে। And we had millions of our people working in the other countries. Among our agriculture also stood up. Again, not for miracle, because of a direct policy support that she provided. Huge amount of subsidies were given. Share, diesel, tele, bije, kuthay na. These all paid off. আপনি জানেন আমার বাড়ি হলো হাওড়ে, সুনামগঞ্জে। আগাম পানি যদি নামে ভারত থেকে, মাই বোরো ইজ লস্ট কমপ্লিটলি, অ্যান্ড উই রিমেন হাংরি ফর দ্য হোল ইয়ার। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য সিঙ্গল ক্রপ। মাই প্যারেন্টস ওয়েন্ট হাংরি when they lost the crop. What she did, she changed the tack. Earlier government what they did, ঠিকাদারকে দিত টাকা টেন্ডারের মাধ্যমে যে তোমরা বাদ দাও। ঠিকাদার সাহেব ঢাকায় বসে সাব ঠিকাদার। Ultimately, when the money reaches my village, 100 becomes 10 taka because of sab ঠিকাদার. And then they are also great রিস্ক টেকার্স, বসে থাকে চুপচাপ। সবসময় তো বন্যা হবে না। There are years there is no flood, no flooding, not much water comes from India or from the sky. So crop is fine, পুরা বিলটা উঠায় নেয়, কিছু হয় না, ফাইন। মাঝে মাঝে রিস্ক নিতে হয়, যখন পানিটা আগে চলে আসে তখন একটু গন্ডগোল শুরু হয়ে যায়। They are good calculators. She said nothing doing, no ঠিকাদারি business here. People who lived in the house near the bills, যাদের জমি ওখানে আছে, make committees out of them, project implementation committees, PICs, and the engineer we have, water engineer, let them work together. ও যদি কিছু খায়ও, কোট আন কোট, এটা নট ফর কোটেশন, খায় সবাই জানে, খেলেও তো টাকাটা তো আমার গ্রামেই থাকলো। এগেন টিপিক্যাল আওয়ামী লীগ স্ট্রং লজিক, কাণ্ডজ্ঞানের লজিক হুইচ আওয়ামী লীগ অ্যাপ্লাইজ, বিকজ আওয়ামী লীগ নোজ দিস কান্ট্রি ভেরি ওয়েল। আমরা আমাদের কৃষকদেরকে চিনি, কারণ তারা আমাদের মা বাবা, তারাই যুদ্ধ করে সংগ্রাম করে এই দেশকে স্বাধীন করেছে। হাইয়েস্ট স্টেক ইজ উইথ দেম, অ্যান্ড শেখ হাসিনা ইজ দেয়ার লিডার। শি ইজ নট ফ্রম অক্সফোর্ড অ্যান্ড ক্যামব্রিজ, নট ফ্রম আলিগড়, নট ফ্রম ক্যালকাটা ইউনিভার্সিটি, যে বিরাট থিওরিক্যাল বই নিয়ে বসে আছে এখানে। সে বড় হয়েছে ওর মাঝখান দিয়ে, এবং তার সঙ্গে আমরা যারা আছি, উই অলসো কাম ফ্রম দ্যাট এরিয়া অফ দ্য ইকোনমি where most activities take place, about which most pundits have very little idea or distorted idea. পুরোটা জানেন না ওনারা, বই পাল্টান। Global average are what they look after. Global average will not work in Bangladesh. So here is another point that I wanted to stress for Dr. Muin Khan, that yes, governance is great, we want it, we have it already, not the kind that you think maybe. ডেফিনেশনে বেশ কম হয়। আমাদের গভর্নেন্স ছাড়া আছে, আমরা কি ভোট দিচ্ছি না, আপনারা ভোটে আসেন না, সেটা অন্য ইস্যু, যাব না। Look sir, you are talking about democracy. What is the ultimate game in democracy? Vote. এছাড়া হাজার যত কিছু করি না, আন্দোলন করি, আলাপ করি, ডিসকাশন করি, ফাইনালি এভরি 5 years or 3 years or 4 years, whatever your constitution says, you have to come to the voting box. আপনারা সেটা করবেন না, you will not do it. You have divested yourself from this national responsibility for years on. You are giving your time and energy to other matters. We have high respect for the great leader you have. Of course she is very ill and she needs treatment, no doubt about that. But বাংলাদেশের মানুষের জন্য ট্রিটমেন্ট দরকার তো। কোটি মানুষ শিখ এখানে না খেয়ে আছে, তাদের জন্য তো আমাদের সরকার চালাতে হবে, উন্নয়ন করতে হবে। সবটাই আমাদের জন্য উন্নয়ন, সবটাই আমাদের জন্য প্রয়োজন। উই আর বিজি ডুইং দ্যাট অলসো। উই ওয়ান্ট হার টু বি ভেরি কুইক, উই ওয়ান্ট হার টু রিকভার ভেরি কুইকলি। আমাদের মেডিকেল কেয়ার আছে, ফ্যাসিলিটিস আছে, দোজ ক্যান বি ইউজড। কিন্তু যদি এন্টায়ার অ্যাটেনশন of a great party like BNP diverted to one very important but one segment, you become focused. আপনাদের দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি ন্যারো হয়ে যায় বলে মনে করি। So here is another point I would like to emphasize to you, that এইটা বোধহয় this will not work. Presently at this moment, ইউনিয়ন পরিষদ নির্বাচন is going all over the country. আমার এলাকায় হচ্ছে lively, full of life in the village. You go to village, my friends from the media are here, they are roaming around the country. কি প্রাণবন্ত নির্বাচন, শত লোক। আপনারা কি বললেন? প্রথম বললেন আমরা নির্বাচন করব না। Some of you even said we will resist it, which was not acceptable at all. Being a democratic party, you cannot say you will resist elections, but you said it on record. এখন একটু কথাটা পিছিয়ে নিয়ে গেছেন। And also you know, and your general secretary knows, আপনাদের লোকেরা নির্বাচন করছে বেনামিতে। এখন আপনারা কি বলেন? হ্যাঁ করতে পারে নিজেরা ইন্ডিভিজুয়ালি, আমরা তাদেরকে অ্যালাউ করেছি। এই ডিদারিং, সুইঙ্গিং, ওয়ালোয়িং, দিস উইল নট হেল্প স্যার। পরিষ্কার যদি ডেমোক্রেসি চান আপনারা, প্র্যাকটিস করতে হবে। প্র্যাকটিসে অনেক ভুল হয়। টেনিস খেলা, বেস্ট টেনিস খেলোয়াড় আগেরগুলার নাম মনে আছে, বর্তমানে নামটা আমি জানি না, টেকনামারা সময় না কি একটা ছিল না আগে প্লেয়াররা, তারা রং শট খেলতো। আমি রং শট খেলতে পারি, আপনিও রং শট খেলতে পারবেন, তাই বলে কি ম্যাচ ছেড়ে চলে যাবেন? এ গুড প্লেয়ার উইল নট লিভ হিজ গ্রাউন্ড। আর গ্যালারিতে বসে খেলতে পারবেন না, ইউ হ্যাভ টু কাম অন দ্য গ্রাউন্ড। আই এম ভেরি সরি টু সে, উইথ অ্যাপোলজিস টু ইউ অ্যান্ড টু ইউর গ্রেট পার্টি, আই থিঙ্ক এখানে আপনাদের চিন্তা করার অবকাশ আছে। এজ এ ফ্রেন্ড, এজ এ ওয়েল উইশার আমি বলছি, খেলাটার জন্য মাঠে নামা দরকার আছে। দ্যাট আনফর্চুনেটলি আপনারা করছেন না। এনিওয়ে, করাপশন অ্যানাদার বিষয় আপনি তুলে আনলেন। করাপশন নিয়ে কি বলবো? করাপশন অ্যান্ড মানি লন্ডারিং অ্যান্ড ফ্লাইট অফ ক্যাপিটাল, বেগম পাড়া কী পাড়া। শুনেন, পোলাও খেলে পোলাও মাটিতে পড়ে, খালি প্লেট থেকে কিছু মাটিতে পড়ে না, পিঁপড়াও আসে না। If you are eating full plate of rice, some will fall on the ground, pipras will come, but if you are sitting with a bare plate, nothing will fall on the ground. আপনি কি সেটা চান? আমরা ফুল প্লেট দিয়ে খাচ্ছি, হ্যাঁ কি চুরি হচ্ছে। আমি চোরের সাপোর্টে মোটেও নই। চোরকে ধরার জন্য আমি এখানে চিৎকার দিয়ে পারবো না কিছু করতে। পল্টন ময়দানে চিৎকার করলেও চোরের কি যায় আসে না, ও শুনেই না ওইসব। চোরা না শুনে ধর্মের কাহিনী, আমাদের বাংলা প্রবচন প্রিয় আছে, আইন যাচ্ছে, আমরা আইন করছি। হিয়ার ইজ দ্য পয়েন্ট এগেইন স্যার, ফর ইউর কাইন্ড কনসিডারেশন। আমরা আইনের শাসক, আইন দ্বারা প্রতিষ্ঠিত শাসক। উই আর এ গভর্নমেন্ট বাই ল, অফ ল, ফর ল। ইউ হ্যাভ নট এ গ্লোরিয়াস পাস্ট ইন দিস এরিয়া। You look at your starting point. You started with guns or gun supporters, and you came back later. We were there without gun from beginning, not even sticks with us. আমরা মাঠ থেকে মাটি থেকে উঠে এসেছি। কীভাবে পারবেন আপনি এখানে? How will you play? So these are the points মনে রাখতে হবে। আমরা মাঝে মাঝে বলি বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ কোনো সাধারণ অর্থে কোনো পলিটিক্যাল পার্টি নয়। Like there are two autocrats in this country who ruled for about 25 years, stole our 20 years. Pakistanis stole our 22 years, ravaged us, and you stole 20 years, ravaged us. মার্কার রেখে গেছেন। সেদিন আমি এক জায়গায় বলছিলাম যে এই দুইজনে আমাদের চলার পথে মাইন পুঁতে গেছে। শেখ হাসিনা এখন দেখে দেখে পা ফেলে চলতে হয়, কেয়ারফুলি। The mines left by your people, your founder, and the other chap who followed him, these are there. এইগুলোকে সরিয়ে আমাদেরকে এগোতে হচ্ছে। আশা করি এইটা আপনি খেয়াল করবেন। হোয়াট ডিফিকাল্ট পাথ, তবুও উই আর এ গভর্নমেন্ট বাই ল। Your beginning was not by law. Your party was born in the cantonment. Our party was born in the bills and khals and jils of Bangladesh, in Gopalganj, in Sunamganj. এইগুলো বলতে হয় কেন? বিকজ দিস ইজ হোয়াট মেক্স। ইতিহাসের বাইরে আমরা কেউই নই। আমার মা বাবার শিক্ষা, আমার পূর্বপুরুষের শিক্ষা, আমার পারিবারিক কালচার বিল্ডস মি। সো ইজ এ পলিটিক্যাল লাইন। আর বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের শুধু নিছক পাওয়ার তার উদ্দেশ্য নয়। আমরা প্রধানমন্ত্রী হওয়ার জন্য, মন্ত্রী হওয়ার জন্য আমরা নির্বাচন লড়ি না। বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগ ইজ এন আন্দোলন। বাংলার শব্দটা আন্দোলন। হোয়াট ইজ ইন ইংলিশ? মুভমেন্ট। It's a lifelong movement for বিকাশ। বাংলা বিকাশ শব্দটা, I don't have a better English word for that. Change, বিকাশ, টোটাল ডেভেলপমেন্ট, চেঞ্জ। আমরা বাঙালি জাতিকে তার ঘরে বসিয়ে টোটাল ডেভেলপমেন্ট চাই, কমপ্লিট ডেভেলপমেন্ট চাই। Not only in food and clothing and housing, but also in culture, also in our songs, also in our books and literature, what not. সম্পূর্ণভাবে বিকশিত করার জন্য আমাদের দলের জন্ম। আমরা দুটো একটা নির্বাচন হারলে আমাদেরকে যায় আসে না। উই আর কেপ্ট আউট অফ পাওয়ার ফর 25 years বাই ফোর্স। গায়ের জোরে আমাদেরকে ক্ষমতা থেকে দূরে রাখা হয়েছিল, বাট উই সার্ভাইভড, কারণ আমাদের রুটস অত্যন্ত গভীরে আছে। আমাদের সঙ্গে ফাইট করা ডিফিকাল্ট হবে। এজ এ ফ্রেন্ড আই এম ওয়ার্নিং ইউ, ওয়ার্নিং আদার্স যারা চিন্তা করে, বাট উই লাভ এ ফাইট। আমরা চাই আপনারা আসবেন। উই লাভ এ গুড গেম, উই আর গুড প্লেয়ার, গুড গেম প্লেয়ার্স। আওয়ার প্রাইম মিনিস্টার উড লাভ টু প্লে, বাট প্লে অ্যাজ পার রুলস। সেটা আপনি করেন। আপনি এনভায়রনমেন্টের কথা বলছেন। জাতিসংঘে কদিন আগে গ্লাসগোতে, she was a trailblazer, you have seen it, you can take pride being a Bangladeshi national. 80টা মোস্ট ভালনারেবল কান্ট্রিজ গ্রুপের চেয়ার কে ছিল? আমাদের প্রধানমন্ত্রী ছিল। তাকে স্বীকৃতি দেওয়া হয়েছে, কোথায় না স্বীকৃতি দেওয়া হচ্ছে। ওয়াই শুড টু টেক প্রাইড ইন দোজ থিংস? আপনি যদি এরকম কিছু নিয়ে আসেন, ইউ আর ডক্টর, ইউ নেভার স্টুড সেকেন্ড ইন ইউর লাইফ, আই টেক প্রাইড, I feel happy about it. Dr. Moin Khan never stood second in his life. Whatever he did, he always stood first. But এই খেলায়, রাজনীতির খেলায় আমাদের প্রধানমন্ত্রী ফার্স্ট পরিষ্কার। কারণ very fair and proper. She plays as per rules. She practices and then she plays. তো এইগুলো নিয়ে আশা করি আপনাদের মধ্যে কোনো ইয়ে থাকবে না। You said about institutions. আপনার ধারণা যে এখন বোধহয় প্রতিষ্ঠান, ইনস্টিটিউশন বাংলা প্রতিষ্ঠানতে বলবো, নানা ধরনের প্রতিষ্ঠান আছে, সাংবাদিক ভাইদের প্রতিষ্ঠান আছে, সিভিল সোসাইটির প্রতিষ্ঠান আছে, রেড ক্রস আছে, রেড ক্রিসেন্ট আছে, বদিউল্লাহ মজুমদার সাহেবের সুজন একটা সুন্দর প্রতিষ্ঠান আছে, আমাদের বন্ধু জিল্লুর সিজিএস সুন্দর প্রতিষ্ঠান। কাদের সময় এত প্রতিষ্ঠান হয়েছে গুনেন, লেট আস গো বাই হেড কাউন্ট, গো টু ইউর টাইম, হাউ মেনি প্রতিষ্ঠান ওয়ার দেয়ার। আমাদের সময় কত শত হাজার প্রতিষ্ঠান ডেভেলপ করছে, ফ্লাওয়ারিং। আমরা কাউকে বন্ধ করেছি? আমরা কাউকে বলেছি না ইউ ক্যানট প্র্যাকটিস ইন দিস কান্ট্রি? মিস্টার মজুমদার দুদিন পরে পরে আই রিড হিজ স্টেটমেন্টস, গুড, উই অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েট দিস, উই লাইক ইট, উই লার্ন ফ্রম ইউ। বাট উনি যদি বলে যে এই রাস্তা দিয়ে আজকে মান্নান সাহেব যাইতে পারবো না, রাস্তা বন্ধ, কারণ আমি এখানে চিল্লাবো, দ্যাট ইজ রং। দ্যাট মিস্টার মজুমদার উইল নট ডু। দ্যাট ইজ হোয়াট দ্য গেম ইজ। এইটাই আমরা বলি বারবার, লেট আস প্লে অ্যাজ পার রুলস। সুতরাং setting up institutions, look at the number of universities that we have set up, sir. Can you think? You are a brilliant university students. এখন দেশে কতটা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় বাংলাদেশ, ডোন্ট টু টেক প্রাইড, 150-র বেশি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় আছে, মেডিকেল কলেজ আছে 100-র বেশি, হাজার হাজার স্কুল কলেজ আছে। আপনি একটা হেলিকপ্টার নিয়ে যান আপনার বাড়িতে, ইভেন 2500-এ যান আপনি আপনার বাড়িতে, 10 মিনিট লাগবে এখান থেকে। লুক ডাউনস্টেয়ার, একটা বাড়িও ছনের বা খড়ের আপনি দেখবেন না। অল হাউজিংস কমপ্লিটলি ট্রান্সফর্মড। ডু ইউ হ্যাভ 3 minutes or more? Okay, I'll just finish. বললে কিন্তু বলতে থাকবো। মর্নিং দাও, ভালো। এইগুলা পরিবর্তন হয়ে গেছে। একটা বিষয়, আমি বয়স্ক মানুষ, আই টেক প্রাইড ইন মাই আই এম সিনিয়র মোস্ট হিয়ার আই থিঙ্ক ইন দিস রুম। ইউ ক্যান, আই ডোন্ট থিঙ্ক সো। আমরা সব বাংলাদেশের মানুষ এখানে। এটা কি চিন্তা করেছিলাম 20 বছর আগে বাংলাদেশের প্রতিটি বাড়িতে বিদ্যুতের বাতি জ্বলবে? লেট আস বি অনেস্ট, আমি চিন্তা করিনি, আমার স্বপ্নও ছিল না। বাংলাদেশে আমার বাড়ি হাওড়ে, এমন জেলে পরিবার আছে যার বাড়িতে যেতে 1 কিলোমিটার নৌকা বেয়ে যেতে হয়, কোনো উপায় নেই। আষাঢ় মাসে, শ্রাবণ মাসে 1 কিলোমিটার গেলে আই ফাইন্ড হিজ হাউস। ওই বাড়িতে আমরা 10 লক্ষ 20 লক্ষ টাকা ব্যয় করে বিদ্যুৎ নিয়ে গেছি। হু উড ডু ইট? শি কুড সে হোয়াট, এখানে কী পাবো, মাছ ধরে খায়, ওর বিদ্যুৎ দরকার কি? কেউ একসময় বলেছিল তেল গ্যাস নিচে রেখে লাভ কি, এগুলো তো এমনি শেষ হয়ে যাবে। দ্যাট ইজ নট দ্য অ্যাটিটিউড। পিপল ম্যাটার্স। ওয়েল হি ইজ এ ফিশারম্যান লিভিং ইন দ্য বিল or a rich man living in Gulshan, both are citizens. দুজনকে নিয়ে আমাদেরকে সমান লেভেল গ্রাউন্ড দিতে হবে। আপনি চিন্তা করেন স্যার, আপনার বাড়ি তো গ্রামে, আপনার বাবা ক্যাবিনেট সেক্রেটারি ছিলেন, আমি জানতাম। আপনি গ্রামে যেতেন, যান এখন গিয়ে দেখেন আপনার নিজের গ্রামে, ওয়াই ডু ইউ হ্যাভ টু রিড বুকস ফর দ্যাট? এই যে কমিউনিটি ক্লিনিক, হুজ আইডিয়া ইট ওয়াজ? শেখ হাসিনা's idea. 91 when she came to ক্ষমতা, গ্রামে গ্রামে মেডিকেল কেয়ারের জন্য she started this. I'm sorry, 96. গ্রামে গ্রামে she set up these community clinics. ঘর বানালো ছোট, very functional 2-room structures, 2 little doctors, paramedics maybe, not even doctors. Before she could open up those things changed in Bangladesh. Okay, fine, it was beyond our control. You came to power, and unfortunately one of the most murderous things you did was close those clinics out of spite. আওয়ামী লীগ করছে বন্ধ করে দাও। তেলাপোকার হাতে, ইঁদুরের হাতে দিয়ে গেলেন আপনারা, যত্ন করলেন না, বিল্ডিংগুলো ধ্বংসপ্রাপ্ত ছিল। Those were not our offices, those were not আওয়ামী লীগ offices, those were for the poor people living in the village. আমরা ফিরে এসে 2009 পরিষ্কার করে, নাও লুক, আমার মা যেতে পারে, আমার চাচি যেতে পারে, বোন যেতে পারে, উই টেক প্রাইড। আমরা 35 ধরনের ওষুধ আমরা সাপ্লাই দিই এইসব জায়গায় বিনামূল্যে। হোয়াট হেলথ কেয়ার উই হ্যাভ। এমনি তো আর আপনার 75-76 বছর আয়ু বাড়ে নাই। হুইচ ক্যান, ইটস এন এনভি। LDC গ্যাং বুধ 49 কান্ট্রিজ আছে, কোনো দেশ আমাদের কাছেও নয়। ভারতের চেয়ে আমাদের মাথা পিছু আয় এখন বেশি। আই ওয়ার্ক ইন দ্য প্ল্যানিং মিনিস্ট্রি ওয়ার ইউ হ্যাভ ওয়ার্কড। এখন আমাদের কত মাথা পিছু আয়? $2,500 ক্রস করে গেছে, উইচ ইজ মোর দেন ইন্ডিয়াজ, উইচ ইজ মোর দেন পাকিস্তান, মোর দেন মেনি আদার কান্ট্রিজ। 2,500 কম বললাম, অ্যাকচুয়াল হিসাব করলে 3,000 ছাড়িয়ে যাবে এটা। বাট উই ডোন্ট ব্রাশ আপ, আমরা এগুলো বাড়িয়ে বলি না, কারেক্ট করে বলি। আপনি দেখুন 2030-এ, আজকে বলে গেলাম এই অগাস্ট গ্যাদারিংয়ে, আমরা 2030-এর মধ্যে যখন SDG আমাদের কমপ্লিট হবে, উই শ্যাল ক্রস $4,000 মার্ক অফিসিয়ালি। বাই 2041 our target is $12,000. By at current price we will reach that level by 2041. We will reach it, and we will reach it by our own labor. সুতরাং আর কথা না বাড়িয়ে, জিল্লুর বারবার তাকাচ্ছেন, আরও বক্তা আছেন, মধ্যে আমারও অন্যখানে একটা কাজ আছে, আমার একটা স্ট্যান্ডিং কমিটির সভা আছে, যেতে হবে। যেটা বলতে চাই, সময় এখন আমাদের। উই হ্যাভ ব্রট দিস সময়, আওয়ার গ্রেট ফ্রিডম ফাইটার্স, ফাদার অফ দ্য নেশন, তাদের আর্লি থিঙ্কিং, সময় মতো তারা দাঁড়িয়েছিলেন, ফাইট করেছিলেন। বঙ্গবন্ধু gave us leadership, although we killed him in no time, we were in a hurry to kill him and do away with him. এরপরেও আরও 20-22 বছর দুজন অটোক্র্যাট কেড়ে নিল আমাদের জীবন থেকে, অ্যান্ড সেমি অটোক্র্যাট। আর কি তত্ত্বাবধায়ক নাকি একটা অদ্ভুত পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্সের বইয়েই নাই এটা। ইউনিভার্সিটির মাস্টার সাহেব গিয়ে প্রেসিডেন্ট হয়ে যায়, সে আবার তত্ত্বাবধায়কের প্রধানও হয়ে যায়, সেলফ ডিক্লেয়ার্ড। এইসব অদ্ভুত সময় পার হয়ে আমরা এসেছি, কেলেঙ্কারির সময় পার হয়ে এসেছি। সলিডলি নাও উই আর রুটেড ইন দিস কান্ট্রি। আপনারা জয়েন করেন, ইউ উইল বি সলিডলি রুটেড। লেট আস প্লে দ্য গেম টুগেদার, একে অন্যের সঙ্গে মিলে। দ্যাট ইজ আওয়ার ডিক্লারেশন, দ্যাট ইজ আওয়ার এইম, অ্যান্ড দ্যাট ইজ আওয়ার উইশ। তো আজকে থ্যাংক ইউ ভাই জিল্লুর রহমান ফর দিস invitation that you given me, এবং I must be grateful again to my senior in politics and in the chair where I sit now, Dr. Moin Khan, যে তিনি কিছু কথা বলেছিলেন এবং তিনি আমার কথা শুনলেন, তাকে আমার ধন্যবাদ। এবং আপনার সবাই, লেডিজ অ্যান্ড জেন্টলম্যান, বি ভেরি পেশেন্ট, সামটাইমস আই হ্যাভ বিন লাউড, ডিপ্লোম্যাট, Turan my friend, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your time here. Thank you, and to everyone else my best wishes. Thank you. জয় বাংলা, জয় বঙ্গবন্ধু।
Hello. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for a very passionate and energetic speech. Now we shall move on to roundtable discussion 2, which is focused on the cooperation required for a smooth transition strategy for LDC graduation and the role of development partners. The guest of honor of this event is the former State Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh, Abul Hassan Chowdhury, and the Turkish Ambassador to Bangladesh, Mustafa Osman Turan, and the Deputy Resident Representative of United Nations Development Programme, Bangladesh, Van Neugen. You are all requested to come up and take your seats. The moderator of this event is Dr. Abdullah Al Mamun, Research Director, Center for Governance Studies, and the Chairman of Japanese Studies, University of Dhaka. Thank you. Now I would like to ask Abdul Al Mamun sir to take the role of the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahmudur. It is always indeed challenging to moderate a session after lunch, but the two fascinating sessions we had that really geared up the discussion, and I believe this panel of discussion here with me, along with the honorable guest of honors, will not disappoint you. I will look forward for a very effective discussion and as well as contributory to the sustainable LDC graduation. The minister was saying that playing nationally, of course we have to play nationally, but playing internationally with the international pitches, not in the local pieces and having good result, but playing internationally in international pieces is also important, whereby we can see that currently our cricket team is struggling. So we don't like to say that we are unprepared and we are not playing internationally. With that objective, in fact, I welcome you to this session called LDC Graduation and Effective Development Cooperation. And I'm very privileged to moderate this session because it represents the eminent and luminaries such as we have the guest of honor here, Abul Hassan Choudhury, former State Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs. His Excellency Mustafa Osman Turan, Turkish Ambassador to Bangladesh, another guest of honor. Van Nayang, Deputy Representative, UNDP Bangladesh. Dr. Badrul Alam Majumdar, Secretary Shujon, but he has another hat. In fact, he's also an academic of economist or a student of economics. And we have with us Dr. Muhammad Abdul Majid, former Chairman, National Board of Revenue, NBR. Dr. Hassan S. Mansoor, Executive Director, Policy Research Institute. Johiruddin Shapon, former Member of Parliament, BNP. Professor Dr. Juniath Shafiq, Managing Director, Navana Pharmaceuticals Limited. As I said that the way the discussion was going from at the end of last session, at the beginning, in fact, by the deliberation of two distinguished, one from BNP and one from Awami League, two designated discussion, in fact, chief guest and a special guest. I believe the flow would continue. But just to highlight the objective of the session and some background, you see, the LDC graduation, of course, is a UN mandate, and UN organizations are mandated to support the graduating countries for a smooth and sustainable graduation. Particularly UNCDP and experience of the graduating countries tells us that working closely with the development partner is key to success. And in the morning, I have shown you how the graduated countries work closely with the development partner to reap the benefit of the LDC graduation. However, if we just go through the positive outcomes we are expecting from LDC graduation, like different trade facilities, international finance to Bangladesh, FDI and everything, you need good relationship with the development partners. And we should not forget that we need more development finance when the international basket of aid is shrinking. So we need to have that appropriate skill and competencies to negotiate well with the development partner and continue our development journey. One of the underpinning factors in terms of the relationship with the development partner has been said by the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, GPEDC. And you'll be very pleased to know that Bangladesh is the co-chair of GPDC. There are 4 principles: country ownership, focus on result, inclusive partnership, and transparency and accountability. So we believe that government and the development partner should respect the International Declaration on Aid and Development Effectiveness run by these 4 principles and work closely to help achieve Bangladesh for the sustainable development. So without further ado, I would like to start the session. But you can see that we're already half an hour delay, so we have to adjust the time. The panelists here all are senior to me, so I'm sorry and profuse apologies to you all beforehand that we'll have 5 minutes to speak, and then I'll give a reminder for another minute. So I earnestly request you all to conclude your comments and discussion within 6 minutes so that we can move on to the next session. So without further delay, now I would like to invite Dr. Badrul Alam Majumdar, Secretary Shujon, to speak upon the development governance from the 2 perspectives. One is the expectation of us to the development partners, and secondly, expectation of development partners to us in terms of sustainable graduation. Dr. Badrul Alam Majumdar, thank you.
Thank you. Our Minister for Planning and the former Minister for Planning, I wish they were here. And they were my classmates, by the way, and he was claiming that he's older than everybody, but we are of same age, and so we miss them. Well, as I was listening to those two distinguished panelists, former planning minister and present planning minister, I remembered an experience. I was one time a professor of economics. By the way, I'm a defunct economist now. I'm a social activist. At that time, I was a professor in America. I remember reading in Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal quoted Anne Kruger, a very distinguished international economist, and she said that I still remember it. There is an outside chance that Bangladesh may do the Korea thing. Korea thing. They had nothing. Bangladesh has nothing. So that was the statement made in the mid-80s. So I organized a session at the American Economic Association meeting held in New York, and I was very interested and looked into it. And so the title of my session was Economics of Growth versus Stagnation, Korea versus Bangladesh. Unfortunately, that was the title. And it was well attended, and what I found out in organizing that session was that in 1970-71, Bangladesh and South Korea was at the same state. $100 per capita income, export share of GDP, and investment share of GDP was exactly similar. And both countries were considered to be resource poor. Although Bangladesh had in retrospect, has a lot of resources, manpower, sweet water, and fertile soil. And South Korea has only low quality, some coal. But guess where Bangladesh is, where South Korea is? And Bangladesh's per capita income is about $2,500. And South Korea has reached that long time ago. They are $30-some thousand per capita income. So this is a contrasting story. And so if we are to really graduate from, if we are to really focus on graduation, we need to learn from South Korea. We need to learn from the other countries. Well, we'll have to have cooperation. We will have to have cooperation with our development partners. And so development partners have some expectation. And we have some expectation from development partners too. Obviously, we want the concessional support to continue. We want we want the continuation of the tariff relief, and we want the continuation of other kinds of exemptions, such as the exemption from the intellectual rights. Those things we want. And they have certain expectation too. And in fact, their expectation, we just heard few weeks ago that an expectation was expressed, and which doesn't make us happy. The American administration, Biden administration, has decided to hold a democracy summit next month. And Bangladesh is excluded, unfortunately. And so, because we haven't met their expectation. So if we do not meet their expectation, and we will not get the cooperation and get the support and get the partnership that we need to get out of this present situation, the challenges that we face. Obviously, it's a great news that we are graduating, but it also has a lot of challenges. And I was yesterday completing an article for a newspaper, and they were really insisting. The title of the article was that Shushashan of Bangladesh Shushasaner Goti Prakriti, the trend in governance of Bangladesh. And I was looking at some data, and from World Bank, from World Justice Project, from Freedom House, from Bertelsmann Stiftung, from Economist Intelligence Unit, Reporters Without Borders, among in our own Aino Shalish Kendra. And every indicator I looked at, without any exception, there is a downward trend. unfortunately. And for example, the World Bank Voice and Accountability from 1996, the score was from 52, the 2020, 26.57, so half. And political stability and absence of violence, terrorism from 26 to 26.62, 16.4. And World Justice Project, their overall rule of law, 2015 was 0.42, and 2021 it became 0.40. One minute more? Okay. And Freedom House, our score went from 2017 47 to 39 in 2021. And Bertelsmann Stiftung, their democracy index from 6.1 in 2010 to 4.4. And so this is the state of affairs. And Reporters Without Borders, 146 to 152, it went down. And they categorize it as media predators country, one of the 39 media predators countries. So this is the state of affairs. And obviously, the narrative was that development versus democracy. But my humble opinion, and based on my own experience, is that if there is no versus, it must be both. And so we may be doing well in development, but in terms of the infrastructural development, but development is truly মানুষের জীবন এবং জীবন মানের উন্নয়ন, অবস্থার অবস্থানের পরিবর্তন. Have we done better in that area, state of human being, our educational quality, our health sector, and everything has been in downward trend. So we need to, if we are to get the cooperation, my concluding the line is that if we are to get cooperation, we need to meet our part of the bargain. We need to do better in the governance area. We need to do better in the democracy area. And in fact, I was expecting that the business people, now in this country we had ব্যবসায়ের রাজনীতিকরণ হয়েছে, রাজনীতির ব্যবসায়ীকরণ হয়েছে. So the politicization of business and businessization, there's no word for it, of politics. And that is not a good sign for getting out of the mess that we are in and meeting the challenges that we need to meet to get out of to face the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mozumdar. You really mentioned a good point and cite the good case of Republic of Korea, who really managed the development finance well. And now you can see their success. And one of the issues they addressed well was the effective use of money, not the time and cost overrun of the projects. Now I would like to request Mr. Johiruddin Shapon, former Member of Parliament, BNP, and I request you to touch upon the issue of development effectiveness, especially or particularly in the use of development finance in terms of effectiveness. Thank you so much. And then I'll be requesting Dr. Majid for his deliberation.
Thank you, CGS. Thank you, Chair, and the Moderator, and His Excellency Mustafa Usman Turan, and Mr. Abul Hassan Chaudhry, former Minister, and the all distinguished guests. I firstly express my thanks to CGS to give the opportunity, and I am privileged to be here. And they fixed me as a discussant on the effective development cooperation. Before focusing on this issue, because Moderator already mentioned that 5 minutes is the, so I will be trying to be focused on only this effective development cooperation. Just a little bit I want to mention that these issues, it's not clear to the common people that the process of recommendation by the UN Committee for Development Policy, that on that basis of the data, statistics, information from Bangladesh, and according to UNDCP, Committee for Development Policy, they based on that data, statistics, and information, and all these things. And we know everyone that Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, they are not a reliable organization and authority. Even before placing the budget, the people they are concerning about our budget policy, they mentioned it several times. So according to this manipulated information and statistics and data, when UN system go according to their mechanical process and recommend a country that they will be graduated from LDC, that I think this should be readdressed and this should be rediscussed, especially from the countries who will be recommended, because that process, whether it is transparent, whether it is fair, and whether it is substantially correct, that should be judged. Because end of the day, the benefit of this type of graduation, whether the people of Bangladesh is getting or not, that is the issue. And welfare of the Bangladesh people is the main target, ultimate target. So as a political activist, I will think this matter from that glass, that whether the people of Bangladesh is going to be benefited after being graduated from the less developed countries to the upper tier. So this is the thing, and also I have an humble request to CGS, that like organization like CGS, they should, and organization like Sujon, they should more focus that these things should be rediscussed, that whether the assessment and the recommendation process by UNDCP was very much correct, and whether there are any correction, any discussion. And finally, my comment is that for the effective development cooperation, of course, Bangladesh as a recommended country, they have to have effective discussion with the all development partners, like UNCDP, like UNCTAD, like GOP, WTO, and LDCPs. And of course, finally, the United Nations, other all systems, they are concerned with the development things. And to discuss with this type of development partners and all the stakeholders, a candidate must be, has that qualification to be accepted by this party. And as a recommended country, Bangladesh, when they will ask to have effective discussion for effective development and effective cooperation, they has to has the legitimate ground. So then naturally there will be the question that whether this government is has a proper verdict from the people. And we know the status of our electoral institution, we know the democratic status, we know our political status, and of course this is not a focus point, but for the effective development and for the effective cooperation to share with any stakeholders, we need it. And finally, the fragile state cannot make and drive this process. For that reason, Bangladesh government, Bangladesh others, all institution, and of course the political parties, they has to have a institutional development to address this type of institutional graduation from United Nations. So without institutional language and without having institutional development, how much we can get it or how much not, that is the question. Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you indeed. You just finished in 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Mr. Jahiruddin Shapon, ex-MP, ex-Member of Parliament, BNP. You have correctly mentioned that the 3 indexes, whether in the first side covers the real factor that can change the life of the people. It is not, but if you go into the very deep of those index, there is education, environment, and everything is there. So CDP is correct in underlining 3 factors to be graduated, but it is duty of the nation, of the government, and us to underpin more on the indicators, and that can really change the life of the people. And truly speaking, as you said, the whole idea of the graduation is still limited to the government, secretariat, parliament, UNDP, and other stakeholders. But it has to take to the public why it matters to them, why it matters for all the people of this country, and how can it change life of them. And of course, we don't like to welcome what the minister was saying, the development that only served this certain percentage of people, a group of people. We like to see the change of life of people through this graduation. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Dr. Abdul Majid former chairman, National Board of Revenue, and I'll be looking forward to your comment and discussion on the trade negotiations. We have a session, but as I have you with me, particularly the challenges and if you touch upon the skill deficit in terms of negotiation in international forums and the problems of FDI. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, moderator. Honorable guest of honor, former Minister Mr. Abul Hassan Chowdhury, guest of honor Mustafa Osman Turan, Tushek Khulrar, and Van Nagan and other distinguished participants, discussions, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a proud privilege for all of us today that on this 22nd of November, we are talking about the graduation of a country, of a developing countries, which will be, now we are getting about 2 years more time, that is by 2026, we will be graduated. So we have done lot good results. Maybe we have got CGPA 3 point plus something, so because we have been graduating very soon. But the question is, after graduation, what will be done? How I will stay, or whether it will be a sustainable development or graduation. That is the question now. As our previous speakers, they have mentioned that whether this development, this graduation will actually bring any change or anything that should be developed in forward. So as if we go for that, you see in the early part of this decade of after the millennium, we were very much busy with the word balanced development. The development in the developing countries, that should have a balanced in the way with the developed countries, so that the benefit of the development of the developed countries should go to the developing countries. Otherwise, they will not participate in the closer journey with them. So that's the question of coming of the trade negotiations or other things, because the trade or the economic relations or economic stability, that will be the main concern of a graduated country to be in a sustainable way. So that's why in 2005, I was in the drafting committee of Paris Declaration 2005, where we took 3 agendas: aid harmonization, aid effectiveness, and end results. In 2005, I was in the drafting committee, and we stressed on that the giving aid is not enough. It should be an effective aid. It should bring changes, or it should change in many respects so that those countries can be self-reliant. Because getting aid is not a good sign that years together you will be getting aid and you will live. With getting the aid, that should strengthen your own sustained policy, your self-reliant, your self-dignity and everything. So that's why, so it remains the effectiveness of the aid. My previous speaker, he has also mentioned, and he has suggested that we should look after the effectiveness of the aid, and in that case, we have to be a good negotiator with the development partners. We are very happy, and we are very respectful to the stand of the World Bank, IMF and others, that really they want that the developing countries should be developed so that they can stay with the other developed nations and etc. So that's why the developing countries, as Bangladesh, who is going to be graduated, we must have such negotiating power or negotiating milieu in that way, so that we can get the right aid to build ourselves in a right way. So how we will get the strength in negotiation? Our previous speakers, Mr. Badiul Alam Mazumdar, and they have said that if your country is not built up on a democratic right or whatever economic disparity, without economic disparity and etc., then all people will be united to give the strength behind the government who will going for negotiation. Otherwise, these negotiation, these aid will not be an effective one. So that's why I think very recently we have seen that our government has gone, our BIDA as well as our Security Exchange Commission, they are doing this road show for bringing the FDI, you see, in other countries. But the question comes, what you are doing for your local investors? Are you giving the same status, same support, same everything, or creating an enabling environment? Look at yourself, that is important. Otherwise, only inviting FDI will not be helpful. So that's why a signalization of, I think, of the efforts that from the local national government to be a strength, to be in a strength in the negotiation, as well as to get a right and effective and important and resultant support, so that the countries, they can give it to a better place. Then our graduation, we will have a very bright, meaningful graduation. Otherwise, it will not be helpful in that sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Murid. You correctly pointed out that we have to take care of our private sector. Until unless we ensure good environment, good business environment for them, will not even receive FDI even after graduation. Thank you so much. Now I would like to move on to Dr. Ahsan Is Mansoor. My question, or I'll be happy to have his comment or discussion on, you see, the UN system and the development partners are mandated to support the LDC graduating countries. But the problem we see in the process, that the challenge of negotiation, harmonization of their effort and alignment of their effort with national interest. On the other hand, currently we are observing that government has formed number of committees, including development partner by the name of Joint Task Force or National Committee or subcommittees, and they launch a project, but still we observe disjointed approach between the DPs and the government in terms of working together for STS. So I'll be very happy to have your discussion on that how can synergy be done, including UN system and the government and other development partner, and how can we harmonize their effort and align it for a sustainable transition strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me first thank the organization, CGS, for arranging this timely event. Let me tell one thing that, frankly speaking, Bangladesh being an LDC is an outlier. There is no LDC country today with that kind of diversity, kind of level of GDP, level of income, etc., that falls in the category of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is much ahead of that. And we actually put that point about 5 years back to our finance minister, Minister of Finance, and wrote an op-ed also, that why should we continue to be classified as a LDC and not be graduated out of it, because it's a matter of self-respect as well. If Pakistan belongs to an upper category, India belongs to other category, why not we? We are no less. And actually, so debate is not issue that whether we will be graduating or not. We will be graduating. We could have graduated. I went to CDP and had discussions with them as part of government delegation, and it's clearly clear that if the government wanted, we could have graduated in 2021. The fact of the matter is that our business community and our government itself is not mentally and otherwise ready or prepared for the post-LDC period, the shocks and things that might come with that. And that's where the problem lies. So the issue that you raised is the preparedness. How far we have prepared ourselves. We have been doing well. We have been living in a comfort zone provided by the UN system as a LDC, while we are really not an LDC. We are better than that. Now, issue is that there will be 3-4 types of shocks that we'll have to mitigate or cope with. One is obviously trade-related issues. That is a major area that Bangladesh, we export a lot to industrial world in particular. Our exports are over-concentrated in Europe and US and other industrial countries. So we have a vulnerability there, and also vulnerability arises from the fact that we are, in many cases other than US, we are getting duty-free, quota-free access and so on. So if that goes, how we cope with that? Second issue is, of course, the aid flows. On that, actually very little that government can do. Already the donors are making Bangladesh a blend country. It is a blend country for the Asian Development Bank, it's a blend country now for World Bank. So this process is already on. Since 2015, when World Bank said Bangladesh is no longer a low-income country, they started putting us into the blend category, and the process is going on. So that process will continue, and increasingly our aid basket will become non-concessional. We have to live with that as it comes. Third is intellectual property issues. Here our main vulnerabilities are on few areas, including like pharmaceutical industry or in some IT areas. We can probably get a lot more concessions from international community on that. WTO has already extended quite a bit for pharmaceutical industry. So I don't see major problem there. So the problem lies in, and labor issues is an outstanding issue. There also we have to do some more work, because international community is also focusing on that, on the labor issue, in addition to the issues like what Dr. Badul Alam Majumdar said on the democratic process or process of democratization, how far we have moved away from or where we stand. This is an issue that is lingering in the minds of the international community. So we need to address those things fundamentally. And on the trade issues, I just want to say one thing, that look, our exports are doing well, but it's very concentrated in products as well as in markets, and we're vulnerable. So we need to diversification of that. That's not happening. Also, market access issue, we have not made progress. If you look at Vietnam, Vietnam has almost a bilateral free trade agreement or special arrangements with almost every major trading partner. Name it, US, China, Japan, free trade with European Union, and a member of the ASEAN. What is left? They have covered everything. Where do Bangladesh stand? We don't have any free trade agreements or any preferential trade agreement even with any country. So we haven't started the game. Look at the export level. Bangladesh exports $40 billion. Vietnam exports $275 billion. We were together. Forget about the Korean story. Korea is way ahead, and Korea moved much ahead in the 60s. But Vietnam in 1990 was at par with Bangladesh in terms of export level of $1 billion only. Each country was exporting $1 billion. Now they're 275. We are at 44, 42, 43 billion. So we need to do a lot more homework along with our graduation process. The graduation will happen, but I don't want to see the government asking for deferment and concessionality, because that is not a very self-respecting thing. I would say we can face it, government become more proactive, more engaged, more determined in sorting out the problems along with the private sector, because otherwise the private sector will like to enjoy the comfort level that they're getting, and they will put the pressure on the government to do more on their behalf so that the market access issues is prolonged. But I believe that we can do without the preferential arrangements. If Vietnam can do it, China has done before that, Korea has done before that, we can certainly do that same path as well. We don't need the concessionality arrangements prolonged beyond, say, 3 to 6 years period that the government has asked for, because it's never-ending process. So I will stop at that, because I think our moderator is looking at
Thank you so much. You really unmasked truth, in fact, that we perhaps differing to be graduated at LDC with intention, but for the prestige, for the pride of the citizen and the country, I think perhaps the time has come finally. We should not look for another extension. But the problem is the complacency, whether we become complacent and finally welcoming the challenge. And again, we see in the middle income trap for a number of years, when we're not prepared well in this 5 years' time and we're not formulating our strategy. Because we have to remember that it is not the 5-year plan, it is not the budget that you prepare a strategy, then you fail and you recover. This is a decisive document you have to prepare to address the challenge of LDC graduation. So thank you so much. Now I would like to move on to Professor Dr. Juniath Shafiq, Managing Director, Navana Pharmaceuticals Limited. My particular interest to ask him about the changing dynamics in the pharmaceuticals companies, our sector. We're very concerned of because of TRIPS and other issues. And also, what are the challenges you apprehend, and what will be your expectation from the government and particularly from the development partners? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Respected guests of honors and participants, a very good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Before I move to my topic, I'm basically a multitasking people. I'm basically a professor of pain medicine. Soja Banglay, Bethar Doctor. And my industry has already started from 3 o'clock. Means my time starts from 3 o'clock. The patients are waiting. So I will finishing a very short term, this one. But before I go to that one, because I want to talk on Mujid Bhai's one talk on the road show, because I'm a director of UCBL also, United Commercial Bank. And the roadshow initiative was taken by me and Shibli of Bangladesh Security Exchange Commission. Shibli is a junior of my same school, Government Laboratory High School. So he requested me. Nobody was interested to start this show. So UCB invested. As you know, Mintu Bhai ase, jara banker malik, ekta টাকাও ছাড়তে চায় না। ভাই লাভই সোজা হিসাব, খরচ করবে কেউ করবে না। এই বিদেশিদের জন্য একটু বাংলায় বললাম আর কি, এটা একটু বলতে। আমার কাজিনরা দুইজন, ভূমিমন্ত্রী ইজ মাই মামাতো ভাই জাভেদ অ্যান্ড রনি, এদেরকে আমি পটিয়ে 5 কোটি টাকা জোগাড় করেছিলাম। অ্যান্ড উই ইনভেস্টেড ইন দুবাই অ্যান্ড ইন লন্ডন উই ইনভেস্টেড 10 crore from UCB. What I have seen that the fruitfulness of this roadshow, what we expected did not go well. I think there should be a follow-up thing on that thing. What I have told the basic chairman also, NBR chairman also, BIDA chairman, he was there also, that we should have a follow-up. People are interested to work or invest in Bangladesh, in pharmaceutical industries, in other industries, IT, food, real estate, everywhere. But the policy thing, I should be very clear. আমি সোজা বাংলার একটা বলতে চাই, যেদিন আমি লন্ডন থেকে ব্যাক করি সেদিন আমার বোর্ডিং ব্রিজ পেতে 1 ঘন্টা লাগছে। মানে আমি দাঁড়ায় আছি এমিরেটসে 1 ঘন্টা লাগছে। তা আমি, আমার সাথে আতিক ছিল, ঢাকার মেয়র ছিল, মিঠু ছিল, এমটিবির এমডি ছিল, শ্যামল ছিল, ভোরের কাগজে। আমি বলছি আমি যদি ইনভেস্টর হতাম তাহলে আমি পরের ফ্লাইটে ব্যাক করে চলে যেতাম, সোজা হিসাব। ভাই একটা বোর্ডিং ব্রিজ পেতে যদি 1 ঘন্টা লাগে তাহলে এই দেশে আবার কী ব্যবসা হবে? এরপর তো কঠিন জিনিস আছে। There are a lot of hurdles, lot of things I'm new in pharmaceutical. Last year I bought Navana Pharmaceuticals. So I will tell something on that. Basically, as I told, I'm basically a doctor. I own Japan Bangladesh Friendship Hospital, is a clinical side. I'm doing a retirement home with Japan, is a new concept. 250 condominium with Japanese investor. এবং আমাদের হাত পা ধরে জাপানের ইনভেস্টর আনতে হয় কিন্তু। Everybody knows who do business, joint venture with foreign people. There is a lot of hurdles in doing business. And in pharmaceutical, for the last year what I've seen, it's a very bright prospect. This one, and its growth is going around 10 to 12%. But there are a lot of barriers, especially I should say, my mother was a joint secretary, so I know very well how the amlas, these things, disturb these things. দিস ওয়ান, আমার আম্মা একটা কথা সবসময় বলতো যে তোমার আমি উপকার না করতে পারি কিন্তু ছোট্ট একটা নোকতা লাগাই দিলে তোমার কাজ হয়ে যাবে। আমার মনে হয় মজিদ ভাই আমার সাথে অ্যাগ্রি করবে, আর যারা আমলা ছিল, পুরান আমলা আছে, এরা সবাই অ্যাগ্রি করবে। মাই ফার্স্ট থিং, মানে টু দ্য গভর্নমেন্ট they should change the mentality. They should change totally this mentality, how to help the people. There are a lot of barriers, even doing business in pharmaceutical industries. When I bring product from outside, for just scientific checking, it takes 2 months. Raw material. this is just absurd. You can't move in this fast-moving world with so much time spending on this thing. It has got with my overhead also, my shipping cost, everything like this thing. And if the government wants to do business in Bangladesh, good one, local investor also, as Mujib has said, the local and foreign investor, I think doing business should be more smooth. I'm moving to higher scale from slowly from I'm a doctor, then my hospital, then my bank, then my retirement home, and then my, what I should say, Navana Pharmaceuticals. But I've seen that there are a lot of barriers in working. And my idea is we should take classes of AMLAs. Simple thing. We should, from private sector, we should take classes of AMLAs, how you have to change your mindset. The young group is coming up, but there are a lot of difficulties in changing the mindset, how to help people, how to change these policies. So this is my 2 cents on this thing. But on pharmaceutical industry, it won't be any difficult for pharmaceutical industry. But it's growing 10 to 15% every year. The market size is more than 30,000 crore. There are a lot of market people can enter this market. And there are a lot of foreign investors are interested to join us, even with us also. And pharmaceutical, one thing I have found in the last 1 year, the people are very good. They are well learned, well taken, not like garments. In garments, the middle level is very poor. We have to depend on Indian or Sri Lankan people like that. But you can't find a foreign people in pharmaceutical industry. And our people has grown this up and it's going on like this, and we are exporting. I also exporting 5 to 7 countries, this one. Only 1 minute left. I have a lot to tell, but nothing to tell. But as this TRIPS agreement is there and LDC is there, won't be any problem. As Mansoor Bhai has told, we should not worry about LDC's movement. We can move from now on, nothing can stop us. If the government policy can change and help us all, Bangladesh will move forward. We have the manpower, we have the technology, we have to develop some of it. But in pharmaceutical sector, we are good enough to move forward to compete with anywhere in the world. Thank you all. Thank you for the
thank you, Dr. Shafiq. Finally, we have got some hope from you, and it's wonderful to hear that private sector is ready. You just need help from the bureaucrat to achieve the objective and lead the country to the progress of economic progress. Now I would like to move on to Ms. Van Nang, the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP Bangladesh. I'll be looking forward for a discussion from you that UN system is mandated and you are supposed to help the government involving your stakeholder, and we know that DP support is important not only for the trade effect due to the LDC, because LDC graduation doesn't mean that just addressing the trade issues, it's more and beyond. It is education, health, and in fact all 17 sectors of the economy will be impacted. So as a leading coordination development partner, UNDP has to play a role to providing research support for the lobbying, for skill development and others alongside with other development partners. But what we see, the existing consultative mechanism, including the list, local consultative group, Bangladesh Development Forum, and the joint cooperation strategy has also expired. So how are you planning your support package? And we know that due to the GPDC and international commitment, it has to be demand-driven, not the supply-driven from the UN side. So can you please touch upon your preparation and cooperation with the government that shows us the path for sustainable graduation? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Moderator, and good afternoon, the two guests of honors, Mr. Abul Hassan Chowdhury and Ambassador Mustafa Osman Turan. So I think that the answer to your question, your question is long and the answer could be very short. And just, I can answer in one sentence, basically. But I really would like to use this opportunity to share with you a little bit more from, not only from UNDP as an institution, but also on my own personal capacity as a Vietnamese national. So And also very much on behalf of Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee. I think that many of you knows him. He heard about his name. He's a UNDP resident representative. Unfortunately, he cannot be here today because he's traveling to an important event. But if he is here, if he was here, what he would say? He would tell us about a story, what he calls is an airline etiquette. So he mentions that in India 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when the country developed, people have more money, and people are economically able to buy the air ticket. Therefore, people were able to travel. But when people got onto the plane, people don't know how to behave. So you would stand up, when the plane landed, and you would hit, push each other and to get to the front, all this. That is the airline etiquette that he would have been saying. Meaning, what does it mean? It means that when we talk about Bangladesh graduation, we, as Dr. Ahsan Mansoor just said, and many other speakers have already said, we will get there if we want. And the previous speaker is saying that it's not about the capacity, whether we can or we cannot. It's about the change in mindset, the mentality. So moving the country toward that graduation and to become a different level, a class of countries is possible. But changing the mindset, the mentality is really taking time. And therefore, as our moderator said, we have to look beyond trade, beyond economic consideration, to look at culture, social, and everything else. So that is my first point I would like to share. My second point is that about 20 years ago, when I was still with the UNDP in Vietnam, we went through exactly this period. We discuss about how to become the middle-income country, avoid the MIC trap. We have discussed exactly this 20 years ago. And I have just felt that there's just so much in this world that we can bring as a UNDP and as a development partner, we can bring to the table to work with you, the government, the stakeholders, all and everyone, to work to have the country to move forward. There's such a lot of wealth of knowledge and of wisdom as here. And around this table, I think that there are more doctors and more professors than the normal people. So we do have the knowledge. But again, come back to whether we want to get it, whether we want to move beyond, or we want to keep, whether we want to brand Bangladesh as a country of transformation or as a country of victim of climate change, victim of all this kind of victim. We don't want this. We want to brand our Bangladesh to become a country that can lead the ways. There's so many other LDC that will look at you, learn from you, as you said. And then that links to the reason why UNDP and development partners want to have you, because Bangladesh's success or failure will be a hub for other countries to learn from. Therefore, we are very much interested in. Yeah, but if you are to answer your question, we have the mechanics is there, the knowledge is there, the what is there, but if we don't have the government to request the development partner, or as our Dr. Mohamed Abdul Masih was talking about the Paris Declaration, this is a government leadership and national ownership. If we cannot supply our support, we have to wait for the government to ask us to support. That's a demand-driven. And unless the government asks us, it's very difficult for UNDP and development partner to have you. So I come back to Bangladesh is unique in this LDC graduation. And that uniqueness can be either challenge or an opportunity for the world. So my last point, because I know that there was not much time left.
Yeah, 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So what do I want to say here? Is what I really want to leave with you is that everything we do. This morning, there's a speaker talk about the change in Gunshan and in Dhaka and what happens in Khulna and Rangpur and everything else. For us, the development partner and the UN, we've cared so much about the principle of leaving no one behind. So everything, the economic growth, everything that you do here will have to benefit everyone. So that's my last point I would like to leave with you. And I very much look forward to, on behalf of UNDP, United Nations, and our development partners, we are here to join your journey, to be your companion, and please do, reach out to us, and we will be very happy to be with you on that very important journey. So thank you so much for giving me the floor. Again, Sudipto is not here, but if he's here, he would be very much more eloquent, to share with you what we think. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Band. And definitely we don't like to see ourselves as a victim. Rather, we like to prepare ourselves well, welcome the challenge, and finally see that we cross the hurdle of LDC and we have a sustainable graduation. Now we would like to move on to the guest of honors of this session. First of all, I would like to request His Excellency Mustafa Osman Turan, Turkish Ambassador to Bangladesh, to speak upon, and my request to him would be that how do he sees the perspective of Bangladesh's graduation as a least developed country, and also what can DPs do, particularly Turkish support to Bangladesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Al-Mamun. Also, on my left, guest of honor, Mr. Chowdhury, distinguished panelists and participants. I'm very pleased to be among you. I really like these stimulating discussions about the state of affairs in Bangladesh, especially because I learned so much from all of you. I think development is a complex matter. It involves multifaceted layers of understanding that we need to have on the path to development. So Bangladesh's story is quite unique. In 50 years, I think it's proven to be a fascinating journey towards a middle-income country. It reminds me a little bit of when Turkey was devastated. The Ottoman Empire led to our republic, and we didn't have anything. No industrial base, nothing. Human illiteracy rate was very low, and a lot of people were killed. So I think from the ashes of war comes a miracle sometimes, and I think Bangladesh has proven that is possible in 50 years. What's really important is where we go from here, rather than being stuck in the past or today. I think one of the strongest driving force for development is human aspiration, human hope for the future, for a better future for our children. So if a country provides that hope with its institutions, with its living standards, with its cities and rural areas worth living your life, then you want to raise your child in that country. So I think all of our governments are trying to achieve this level. And I think Bangladesh has come a long way in that respect. And I find, I'm not going to talk about the transition from what it means to graduate, transition from the development aid towards, domestic resource mobilization and trade generation. But rather, I'd like to talk about Turkey's experience and how it can be helpful for Bangladesh, because as it was mentioned, we need to learn from each other, right? Experience of others always count, not to make similar mistakes or perhaps do it much better. So, both Turkey and Bangladesh, predominantly Muslim countries, governed by a secular multi-party governance model, a strong participation of women. We are both hosting large numbers of refugees. So both of our countries are experiencing exponential growth in economy in the last decade or two. But of course, this positive picture is not without challenges on both sides. Therefore, the analysis of the future for graduation needs to take into those challenges, and many of them have been listed here. What I'd like to underline is really in Turkey to really move forward, you need to set standards. And in Turkey, our standards were always European standards. Even if, our liberation was from the European states, we fought against them, we kind of, gained our independence out of victory against European powers. Our founding father, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, did not shy away from taking the Western European standards, from becoming our own yardstick to measure our success against. And that brought strong rules-based society and strong institutions, and also helped us to really aspire our or inspire our human resources towards a better standard of living. That also has provided assurances for foreign investors, because once you anchor your country in rule of law, anchored at higher standards, then they feel much more secure to invest in your country. That also brings,
Excellency,
better.
1 minute.
Sure. Betterment of infrastructure, structural reforms, diversification of trade, and, as I said, domestic resource mobilization. So I think when we talk about graduation, one of the first things that come to my mind in Bangladesh is really to deal with this domestic revenue mobilization through tax policy, and also investing in education and health domains a lot more through those increased level of resources. Once it's done, the level of hope for people will be raised to a level where I think the people would love to spend time and energy for the development of the future in their own country, rather than aspiring to go and live in another country. So partners like Turkey for Bangladesh will be significant, and my country will be ready to play that role. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You have correctly pointed out the need of domestic resource mobilization, and we have given hope by some of the discussion that if government can provide appropriate support to our private sector, and of course we have to work more towards collecting tax. It's so poor still, 8 to 12%, so it's so poor, so we have to look upon that. Thank you so much. So now I would like to move on to the final guest of honor. Mr. Abul Hassan Chowdhury, former State Minister, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh. And I would like to request him to speak upon from his experience dealing with the development partners and their changing attitude towards us due to our economic progress. Thank you so much.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. May I first of all thank the Center for Governance Studies for doing me the honor of inviting me here this afternoon, and also in particular Brother Zillur Rahman, who is a very beloved personality in the intellectual and social discourse firmament of our country. Courtesy demands that I acknowledge the very distinguished galaxy of speakers on all sides of the table, but time constraint restricts me from doing that. Many of the points that naturally come to one's mind when you think of LDC graduation has been so comprehensively and in such scholarly manner been dealt with by the Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. Professor Mannan, our Honorable State Minister, and also equally a very interesting discussion from the former Planning Minister, Dr. Moin Khan. Personalities, both of whom are well known to me, and for them I have great admiration. You see, let me go straight into several other points, because the points that they have raised are absolutely relevant, valid, and has been discussed, but little can be gained by a recital of those same points again. As I think of Bangladesh, naturally 71 is the starting point, and the history of Bangladesh has been one of making the impossible possible. We were a nation of 75 million, land mass was more or less the same, and we were food deficient. Today, the land hasn't increased, the population has. And in this nation of 180 million, alhamdulillah, we are slightly surplus. If you look at the social indicators, what did we hear in 71? Again and again and again repeatedly, that this dream will never come true. I do not even want to name a scholar, an individual who passes on as a scholar, that we would be an international basket case. We proved him wrong. In all the social indicators, we are not to be complacent, but on the top of the South Asian League. Our child mortality, our enrollment of female children in school, our literacy rate, our GDP, our longevity, the whole discourse is full of this glittering success. Yes, how do we go forward? How do we hold it? How, as the COVID has restricted us in a whole variety of ways around the world, in the country, one of which was the happiness of meeting Professor Mansoor at Jummah time, which has also not happened for the last so many months. So, with all these constraints, we had to move forward. And as you heard from the Honorable Minister, that following from the urge to carry the country forward, it was always a struggle between life and livelihood. A decision was taken that at the grassroots level, restrictions will not be imposed in transferring people or goods or material from one side to the other. I think that is one of the reasons why, despite all the very negativity and the negative prognostications at the onset of COVID, Bangladesh again has done fairly well. Moving on, I would say that, and this is a point I have said repeatedly, because I am saying it, probably I don't get much takers, that the vision of the greatest Bengali of all times, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was such that in an absolutely bifurcated, polarized world, one headed by the United States, in the other by the Soviet Union, Bangladesh, even at its genesis, got tremendous support from all across the globe. Yes, of course, our neighboring country, India, gave massive and magnificent support. But there was support from Europe. There was support from the Congress on a bipartisan basis, from the media, even in the United States itself. So I'm saying that we started from that vantage point. Sadly, as it is well known, that thrust was brought rudely and brutally to a halt with the killing of Bangabandhu and most members of the family. But following in his footsteps and the principles of the foreign policy, which was friendship towards all and malice towards none, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has moved forward, and we have seen that Bangladesh, you see, it is not a person which is being acclaimed. When she is honored to have attained this sustainable development achievement, I would say that it's a recognition of Bangladesh. And long 21 years after the killing of Bangabandhu, when Awami League came to power, one of the thrusts was to go forward, not just to get the benefits of regional grouping, intra-regional grouping, even trans-regional grouping. And I had the great honor and tremendous satisfaction of being involved with the preparatory process of setting up of the D8. His Excellency, the Honorable Ambassador of Turkey will recall that this was a great initiative taken by Prime Minister Necmettin Erbakan, and Mr. Abdullah Gül, who went on later to become the President of Turkey, was at that time the State Minister. Incidentally, the second D8 summit was held in Bangladesh, somewhere very close to where we are sitting in this same hotel. So what I am saying, that Bangladesh being, given its size and the enormous achievement, that the potential that we have received, has always been very, very forward-looking. So I think, yes, I take the point that you cannot continue to be an LDC when you have marked up a certain level of development. So in order to sustain that process, we need to further cement on this. And I would be totally remiss here that given all these incredible developments, and any one of us here can go on for hours and hours, and I shall not do that out of respect for the time constraints, which I fully understand. But one point needs to be addressed. I do not shy away from applauding what Chancellor Merkel had done. But one point needs to be addressed by ASEAN, by D8, by BIMSTEC, by OIC. And I am delighted that the government of Bangladesh has been able to get an unanimous resolution in the United Nations, which is the Rohingya crisis. Here is the densest country in the world. And the Prime Minister showed magnanimity, vision and pragmatism, because unless we live in peace with each other, we do not live in peace, the Lord we've developed. So the challenge in front of us is to incentivize Myanmar, for Myanmar to understand that there is more benefit in being an active member of BIMSTEC, of which we are members. That is precisely the reason why the Prime Minister hasn't taken a harsh attitude when this was being demanded by many, and for perhaps very good reasons. So I hope that the international community, and I take advantage of this meeting, of course, to ask D8 as well, that to consider, start with sanctions really do not work against the country. But what does, that if you restrict the travel of the people who matter in that particular country, if you restrict SWIFT. Now, two other things I will mention. I am going on a telegraphic speech. You see, those of us who have been in politics, my brother Shapun, I think, will agree that when you have a microphone in front of you, you forget time.
Yeah, you have already taken 2 more minutes. Thank you so much. Can you please finish? Yeah, 30 seconds, please.
Okay, just give me a minute. Because it is out of respect for your organization, because I must address certain very salient issues. In order to sustain this development, in order to make the graduation process not just smooth and hassle-free, but to meaningful and substantial, issues which unfortunately infringe on us, and the one that I have mentioned, I think that nobody can controvert us on this, must be addressed. It is not Bangladesh issue, it is not a regional issue, it's a global issue, and needs to be addressed by our neighboring country at the international community. And the other thing I would suggest, yes, the honorable gentleman who mentioned about it, sometimes when in government I used to feel that even the government must be privatized. And if you do that to some extent, but on the other hand, there are ardent and rational and strident voices raised that the regulatory framework must be strengthened. So a neat and wholesome balance needs to be achieved. I am sure discussions such as this, I once again renew my thanks for their kind invitation, will take us forward to bring about a holistic approach to resolving this problem. Mr. Moderator, I know I have impinged on your patience. But
no, thank you so much. Still, you're too kind that you finished in 1 minute.
Thank you very much. You see, we belong to a club. We belonged to a club which was called the Parliament, and we were in that Parliament. If you're not shouted down 10 times, we were told that what kind of an MP is this? Thank you very much.
Remember, I'm a teacher. I didn't used to that stick for you to stop. Thank you so much. I think it was a fascinating session, and thanks to all the participants and especially the discussant, Mr. Abul Hassan Chaudhuri, Mustafa, His Excellency, Mr. Turan, Van Naim, Dr. Badul Alam, Dr. Majid, Dr. Hassan S. Mansoor, Mr. Jahiruddin Shapun, and Professor Juniath Shafiq. If I quickly summarize the session, of course, Mr. Badul Alam said that we should replicate the example of Korea to sustain our graduation and see how can a country transform quickly. And another point is made by Mr. Shaponi is that the LDC graduation should change the life of the people. It should not just only the trade, it's many things. Another thing came up from the, another discussion, Professor Shafiq, in fact, that he's urging for the support from the government, from the private sector, and that has to be ensured. And two other discussions, Van and Mr. Dr. Hassan Mansoor focuses on the accepting the challenge, not defer the graduation anymore. We want prestige, but we want sustainability at the same time. And finally, I would like to thank His Excellency, what he said, that mobilization of domestic resource is very important. I think this dialogue and of course this session particularly will be helpful in shaping up our dream towards the sustainable graduation. Thank you all the discussion and the participants. Thank you so much.
So this marks the end of Roundtable Discussion 2, LDC Graduation and Effective Development Cooperation. Now we shall move on to Roundtable Discussion 3, Opportunities and Challenges for Commerce and Trade. Roundtable Discussion 3 is focused on identifying the challenges and opportunities of LDC graduation in terms of trade and commerce. The guest of honor of